It's October 29th, 2025, and the federal government remains shut down, but there are a couple of Georgians who can change that right now. Let's get into it. Peach Pundit, the podcast, is a conversation filled with the personal opinions of the people who are participating. Any view or opinion expressed belongs only to the person who expressed it and not with anyone with whom that person is professionally affiliated. You are listening to your favorite podcast, and we're grateful for it. Welcome to the Peach Pundit Podcast. My name is Scott Turner, joined by that guy over there, the effervescent, happy always, lifts our spirits all the time, ray of sunshine, Buzz Brockway.
Hey-o. How's it going?
It's going well. It's been kind of rainy and dreary. My dog's driving me absolutely crazy.
Ah.
Yeah, he is an indoor dog who wants to be an outdoor dog, but not by himself. He wants you out there with him.
Yes.
And he's double coated and doesn't mind weather of all types. And the worse the weather is, the better it is for him. He's just like, this is the best thing ever. I do not like cold and I don't like being wet and I don't like that combination in particular, but
no,
he's driving me nuts. He wants me to be out there with him. Not going to happen. His birthday's tomorrow. Maybe I can order up some more Chamber of Commerce level weather for him for his birthday.
I think the rain is supposed to move on out of here.
I hope it does. Jeez, Pete. You know, we need you, Buzz. We didn't have you last week, but we need you in our lives to provide us with the hope and sunshine.
Oh man,
I am not that guy.
If the hope of the world relies on me, we're in trouble.
No, it's just that you always have like this, silver lining is right there. It's in front of you. Why don't you see it? Type of, and
well. I had coffee with a friend a few weeks back, and I was kind of describing the state of politics, and he said, "Wow, Buzz, you're really dragging me down. I was hoping that you'd be a guy who could cheer me up, and you're just dragging me down, man."
It's hard if in politics to not be on a bit of a downer these days, because you look at what's happening, and starting with what's happening right now with the federal government being shut down. And that's going to be our first story that we're going to talk about tonight, because of the implications it's having on our state lawmakers right now. There's this huge debate over how the state's going to handle one particular program. And it just so happens that at Eternal Vigilance Action, we wrote a policy memo that's in my day job. So we're going to talk about that. And
I did note that among the things the Senate failed to do was they failed to pass a bill or resolution saying lawmakers don't get paid during government shutdowns. So they couldn't even pass that. So they're happy for all sorts of federal employees to not get paid. They're happy for SNAP recipients to have their benefits cut off in a few days, which I know we'll talk about. But they're going to continue to get their checks. So good for them. Good for them.
And I also noticed in my pay stub that they're still collecting the taxes.
Yeah.
They didn't stop doing that. So the money's being taken from us, but we're not getting anything for it. Doesn't really sit well.
Well, last week I wasn't here because on the podcast because I was in Salt Lake City for some meetings. I flew out Tuesday morning, and on the news Monday, they were talking about really long lines at TSA lines in Atlanta because TSA workers, some of them weren't coming to work because they weren't getting paid. And, and I thought, it's one thing to go, it's their job. They should be there. If I wasn't getting paid, why would I don't know that I'd show up for work.
If I'm not getting paid, I'm hopping in my car and I'm delivering DoorDash.
I don't blame those folks. I don't blame the folks that decided to stay home.
Right.
And say, when you guys get your act together up there in Washington and give me my paycheck, I'll come back to work. Now, no, look, of course, they will. They'll get their pay eventually, and they won't be short. But this is putting people in really bad positions.
It's been a month.
I don't want to divulge too much here because I don't want to get the person who told me this in the middle of a political brouhaha. But I know that there are veterans who are suffering right now because they're not getting the stuff that they're owed. And some of them are having to drop out of the college classes that they're attending in an attempt to, better themselves and get a career. They're having to drop out of those classes to go to work and putting their education on hold, not just on hold, but getting behind on their education because they're halfway through the semester. They're going to have to retake those classes from scratch. So,
jeez, oh Pete.
I mean, well, listen,
we're going to get it all into the shutdown.
Yeah,
we've already started. It wasn't my plan to go immediately into it.
Real people are hurting is the point. Real people are hurting.
And we're going to talk more about it right after this. Americans for Prosperity Georgia champions economic freedom and individual liberty across this state. They advocate for lower taxes, less government spending, and regulatory reform while mobilizing citizens to engage in the legislative process. Beyond just economic issues, AFP Georgia is committed to more choice in K through 12 education for all students and removing government barriers in healthcare like Certificate of Need. If you'd like to learn more about Americans for Prosperity, they have a chapter right here in Georgia. You can visit them at ga.americansforprosperity.org.
Peach Pundit has an anonymous Patreon who would like to invite you to learn more about the Alzheimer's Association. The Alzheimer's Association leads the way to end Alzheimer's and all other dementia by accelerating global research, driving risk reduction and early detection, and maximizing quality care and support. No one should fight Alzheimer's alone. With your help, no one will. Learn more on their website, alz.org.
Earlier this week, the Hill.com, which is not known for being a conservative bastion of limited government thought and does not tend to portray Republicans always as the good guys, had a piece that ran under the headline, Democratic senators fear getting, quote, hammered after no kings for ending shutdown. This was a fascinating read, if for no other reason than this particular money quote that deals with Jon Ossoff and the political calculus, the senator, who is, I will conveniently remind you, up for reelection next year. The political calculus he's employing to decide whether or not he should vote to end the shutdown or to keep it going. And the Hill quoted one Democratic insider, did not name who they were or what their official role was, but that a Democratic insider told the Hill, quote, Jon Ossoff's calculus is, do I vote to open the government up and get crushed and can't raise a single dollar of low dollar money, or do I vote to shut the government down and get $3 million from online fundraising? The source, is important to note, was not officially tied to the Ossoff campaign, but described the dilemma facing multiple vulnerable Democrats in multiple swing states. It is important also to know that Jon Ossoff has voted against multiple Republican funding bills and 4 Democratic alternatives that include permanent ACA subsidy and Medicaid expansion restorations, effectively framing the shutdown as a fight over health care. Buzz, here's my question to you. Is the juice worth the squeeze? That's the first question. But also, what is Ossoff thinking?
I think that article described the dilemma that many Democrats find themselves in. That is, they kind of thought that when the No Kings rally took place, that after that, they could hold out in order to please that base and pretend like they're fighting. And then after that No Kings rally was done, things would settle down and they could cut a deal. But that's not what's happened. The No Kings rally has only just emboldened Democrats who are saying, many of them are saying, don't cut any deal with Trump. We demand these subsidies. And these, you have to understand, what they're asking for, what they want is during COVID, Biden bumped up increased the Obamacare subsidies, and they want those locked in permanently. They were supposed to be temporary. They were touted as being, these are temporary because everybody's hurting so much. but now they want them to be permanent. So that is what they want. That's what they're demanding in order to reopen the government. And look, make no mistake, the Democrats are the ones who were keeping it closed. And if you don't believe me, just check out any tweet any day by John Fetterman, who explains, I'm not going to hold the government hostage for this bill. We should reopen the government, and then we can have the debate over these subsidies or not.
Do you know who John Fetterman sounds like when he says that?
Who?
He sounds like Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
He sounds like Chuck Schumer.
Mm-hmm.
Not this version of Chuck Schumer.
No.
But Bill Clinton literally went into the White House press briefing room one day when the Republicans were threatening a shutdown, saying, if you want to negotiate with me, come talk to me about your ideas, but we ain't doing that.
Right.
You know how many times Republicans have gotten something substantive in policy whenever they've decided to shut the government down? How many times have the Democrats given the Republicans something they wanted when the Republicans decided to shut the government down?
Never.
And
nor should they. Nor should they. Because that's not how you do things. And Republicans shouldn't do that now.
Right. If Kai was here, he would say he'd be shocked that there's gambling going on in this establishment because of the hypocrisy. And that's just a way of, brushing aside, like, oh, yeah, there's hypocrisy in politics. But this is serious because one of the things that Jon Ossoff specifically is playing chicken with right now, is the SNAP benefits for Georgia. There are 1.4 million Georgians receiving up to $200 a month, just under $200 a month. That's about $300 million. Now, I learned that last week, that figure. I had never really looked at it because SNAP benefits, food stamps essentially, are paid 100% by the federal government. So it wasn't one of our budget items that I was genuinely concerned with.
Yeah.
It's administered by the state. Half of the administration cost comes from the federal government. The other half is for that administrative cost is handled by the state. The feds set up the eligibility requirements. We verify that the recipient is eligible to meet those requirements before they can start receiving funds. They get a electronic benefits transfer card, EBT card. It's a credit card, debit card, and they're able to buy food off of that. What's coming up in November? Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
The moment some elderly lady or a mom with 4 kids who's just trying to make the ends meet goes in front of a camera and says, I don't know what to do for Thanksgiving, there's the political cost obviously goes up. I don't mean that to sound insensitive. There are people who really rely on these things. And regardless of how you feel about our welfare programs, you cannot remove $300 million out of the state's economy overnight.
Right.
It's like driving a car at 200 miles an hour and deciding the best way to stop is to run into a brick wall.
Yeah.
That's what it would be like.
Pain. Well, let's think of that's $300 million that will not be spent at a grocery store in the state of Georgia.
Your Piggly Wigglies, your Aldi's,
overnight Publix, Kroger,
local small town shops that are mom and pops.
Yeah,
it's going to have a major ripple effect.
Yeah, not to mention, of course, those families, because what's happening, you're already starting to see it. Food banks are getting hit up hard.
Yeah.
And so, we're preparing to increase our donations to our food bank. I'm sure our church will too. But that's a heck of a lot of food.
$300 million a month.
Yeah.
Per month.
Yeah.
So this is the point I really want to hammer home with our audience. The Democrats are showing that they're willing to shut the government down, which has had all kinds of impacts already. There was a ground stop today. Air traffic controllers in Newark decided they needed to go drive DoorDash to make ends meet, I guess. But you have air traffic controllers working without pay, government employees being furloughed. We have this SNAP debate, and then we're going to talk about SNAP some more here in a second. This is what they're arguing for. They want to permanently expand the subsidies for a program that never worked.
Yep.
Obamacare is a failure. It has failed. It promised to lower our healthcare costs, and it never did. Our healthcare costs have only ever gone up with Obamacare. And the Democrats are saying right now they're willing to make sure that the veterans can't go to school, that air traffic controllers won't get paid and have to go show up for work, that there will be long lines at TSA. They'll continue to take the money out of your check in order to try to prop up a program that has failed. And here's the real takeaway. They had the opportunity to make this permanent. They had all three levers of power in Washington, D.C., both chambers and the White House under Joe Biden. They chose not to make them permanent when they were in power. Why? Because it was too expensive.
Yeah.
It cost too much. And they decided at the time, this needs to be a temporary thing. And now that they're not in power, they're trying to make this big show out of, aren't we the good guys? We're fighting for healthcare. Jon Ossoff is fighting for healthcare. Bull crap. Bull crap. It's not why. He's doing it for the $3 million. The Democratic Insider told us why he's doing it. He's doing it because he's up for reelection next year. And after the No Kings protest, he's feeling the heat from the left.
Yeah, Scott, can I add something to that point about the pressure? Yesterday, came to light, well, it was done publicly, a liberal podcaster named Jennifer Welch, who I believe has about 1.5 million subscribers on YouTube, said that the Democratic establishment needs to get on board with continue to fight, and not just fight. And she said, this is what we want. And she immediately played a video of a right-wing person talking to people at the No Kings protest saying, what do you think of Charlie Kirk? And the person said, I'm glad he's dead. I'm glad he's dead because he was a piece of bleep. And she said, well, would you want me dead? She goes, maybe. And around her, so these are all liberal white women, and this Jennifer Welch is yet another liberal white woman. So, and all her friends around her were just laughing and thinking, oh yeah, ha ha ha. Yes, we don't mind seeing some of you dead. Comes back to Jennifer Welch. She plays that clip and says, if you don't, Chuck Schumer, she named Chuck Schumer and the leader in the House, whatever his name, I forgot his name, Hakeem and
Jeffries.
said, Hakeem Jeffries, if you don't do what we want, we will turn on you just like we have, and we will bring the fight to you just like we brought the fight to MAGA. Now, I mean, I don't know how you can interpret that other than we will bring violence to your doorstep, Democrats, if you don't do what we, the Democratic base, wants. So, look, you can think, well, that's just just one person blathering, one liberal white woman blathering on YouTube. But there was polling several months ago, Scott, that a large chunk of Democrats were demanding that their elected officials put themselves in harm's way to stop ICE, and including in the poll, and it was, the message was being sent, even be willing to take a bullet for what you stand for. That's the kind of resistance we demand. So they're putting these Democrats in this kind of position that is where they sometimes, maybe even for fear of their lives or for fear of harm to themselves or their staff, they have to fight this. So where's the leadership? Stand up and tell your base, no, that's irresponsible. We're not doing that. We're going to cut a deal, and we're going to continue to fight for the things we believe in. They can fight for these increased Obamacare subsidies if you want to, but don't shut the government down and put all these people in financial harm.
The AJC had a poll on Bluestein's Twitter. He highlighted it basically that for the Democratic voters in the Georgia primary, jobs and the economy are the top two issues. The third most important is standing up to Donald Trump.
Yep.
So it lends credence to what she's saying there.
Yeah.
And
that's what they're demanding.
Fear.
Right.
But sometimes you got to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And you cannot always capitulate to the extreme part of your base.
Yep.
You have to be responsible. And right now, again, 1.4 million people are looking down the potential of losing their SNAP benefits, but we are not the type of people to sit back and just complain here. Our state has been governed very well for at least the last 15, 20 years. We have been governed responsibly. We have been governed conservatively. And as a result of that, we see certain things that have happened. We continue to be a state where businesses want to come do business. We see manufacturers announcing on the regular, they want to move a plant here. We have a workforce development program that is being celebrated nationally. But I decided when I saw that there were going to be people that may not get their food stamps, it started with a curiosity. What kind of economic impact would that have? And that's where I found the $300 million number. And I was stunned by that. I mean, we've got to do better at making sure people don't need food stamps.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have to do better at that. But that's not, right now, isn't the time for that conversation. I want to see less people be qualified. I want them to have the economic opportunity where they don't have to use EBT cards to buy their groceries. But that's not the reality I'm working with today. The reality is Jon Ossoff won't vote to reopen the government. And until he and a few of his other colleagues decide to do that, we have this problem. And so I started looking at creative ways. What would it look like? Does the governor have authority? Do we need a special session? Does there need to be appropriations for the state to step in? And this is what I found. The rainy day fund is capped out. We can't put another dollar in it. There's so much in it. That number is $5.5 billion. That is sitting there for the governor to tap whenever there's an emergency. On top of that, there's this net revenue reserve. This is the money that gets collected but hasn't been spent. And we're sitting on about $9 billion there. So roughly $14.5 billion. Again, we're talking about $300 million temporary 1 month, if we did it for 1 month. The idea that I floated in the policy memo, we'll link to at the website on the blog, is to create a temporary state emergency replacement for SNAP using the current infrastructure, meaning that we would put the funds, the governor would create an executive order declaring this an emergency. He is within his legal right to do so, to keep people fed. The rainy day fund legislation, the law actually allows him, whenever a funding source goes dry, this would be the federal government, to tap it for this purpose. Mm-hmm. So if he declares it an emergency, he can tap it, and then he can put the funds in on a temporary basis and say it'll expire the moment that the federal government reopens. The continuing resolution that is there is funding SNAP, so the state would get paid back. It would be essentially an interest-free loan to the federal government to make sure that their obligations under SNAP are met. It would not be a permanent expansion. It would just be temporary. But we're in a position to do this as a state only because we have been governed effectively, while Washington up there are a bunch of goof-offs who can't do the right thing because they're worried about playing to their base. And the way I would frame it, if I was in the legislature, if I was in the governor's office, is we have to do this because Jon Ossoff won't do his job. And that's how I would frame it, because that's the truth. We're in this position because Raphael Warnock and Jon Ossoff are the only two Americans that we as Georgians can hold accountable to this.
Right.
And because they won't do their job, we have to come do this. Am I pie in the sky? Is it something that you think would work? I mean, you have a legislator background. What do you think, Buzz?
I think it would work. And I think we could apply the lessons we learned during COVID, because you recall that state agencies had to pivot very quickly. In some cases, state agencies had to stand up whole new programs within days or weeks. I think, what you're advocating for is using the existing structure, just change this funding source temporarily.
Now,
So I think they could. I don't know the technical aspects of how to do this.
well, the technical
they
aspect
do,
would be they would
but
have to code the dollars that we put in
Yeah.
as a separate fund, and anything that is spent out of that fund would be reimbursed when the
Yeah.
next federal installment comes.
Yes. Yeah. So I think, just make that happen. And no, I think it's a great proposal, Scott. And hopefully they'll.
You know who agrees with you?
Who?
Glenn Youngkin, the governor of Virginia, because Virginia, unbeknownst to me, announced this week. I think I'd already written the memo. I wrote the memo last week. I sent it around. I didn't publish it publicly until today, but I sent it around to some folks. I socialized the idea, and some of the feedback I got was, "Oh, well, they're going to shut the vendor down." Well, what I learned today was that Virginia and Georgia are using the exact same vendor for for EBT disbursements.
Yeah.
So if it's working there, it can work here.
Right. Well, good.
And to the audience, are there things I'm not thinking about? Tell me.
Yeah.
Put it in the comments. You might get a T-shirt, because we do that occasionally. We give out a T-shirt to somebody who leaves a comment someplace. Tell me why it wouldn't work. Maybe you're right. Maybe I'm missing something. But if another state's doing it, and also there's another state that's doing something similar, Louisiana. Now, what does Georgia, Louisiana, and Virginia all have in common at the moment?
Republican governors.
Republican
who
governors.
are can-do kind of folks.
Exactly. Governor Landry in Louisiana is not messing around. He's like, you know what? I'm not going to. If Jon Ossoff and Raphael Warnock can't get their crap together, people of Louisiana are not going to suffer. And they've also been able to. They have a rainy day fund that they are able to tap just like us. So I was pleased to learn today that there are other states doing this already. It removes a lot of the barriers and objections, and we should just be doing it.
Right, because then a lot of those folks know each other, so they can. Our folks here in Georgia can pick up the phone and call their counterparts in Louisiana and Virginia and say, "Hey, tell me how you did it," and they'll learn from each other. So I just took a peek at Kalshi, one of the betting markets. We're at 28 days for the shutdown. 60%, well, it just jumped up one. Just 61% of Kalshi bettors think it will last 40 days. So that's another 12 days. 21% think it will hit 60 days, which puts you just past Thanksgiving. So betting markets are pretty pessimistic about Washington's ability to reopen its doors. So that's not a ringing endorsement of our political system here. When
we come back, there's a Public Service Commission election happening. Election day is this coming Tuesday.
What?
And so I would like to know why the Georgia Republican Party chairman decided to spend his weekend picking a fight with a local elected Republican.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Golden Retriever Rescue of Atlanta, GRRA, is an all-volunteer, tax-deductible charitable organization. They are dedicated to providing veterinary care, comprehensive evaluation, and foster and adoptive homes to golden and Labrador retrievers who are abandoned, mistreated, neglected, or left in shelters throughout Georgia. We encourage you to visit their website grra.com and help connect people and dogs that need each other in their lives. You truly can make this world a better place by helping find homes of gold for these golden-hearted pups.
Conservatives Concerned is a network of political and social conservatives who question the alignment of capital punishment with conservative principles and values. Our programs include educating conservatives about the failed death penalty system and mobilizing them to bring about its end. We come to this issue for a variety of reasons. Some believe that small government and the death penalty don't go together, especially when we compare the high costs of capital punishment to life without possibility of release. Some don't trust the state to get it right. We already know that some innocent people have been sentenced to death, and for others, it may already be too late. Some believe that the death penalty contradicts our values about protecting life. Find out more at conservativesconcerned.org.
We've talked ad nauseum on this podcast about the Public Service Commission race and why we find it at this really odd time, why we haven't had one in 6 years or so because of a lawsuit, and why we had to have this now. But one of the things that we've been worried about for a while is voter participation in this really weird cycle. And the data that I got last night, I wasn't able to look at it for today, but as of yesterday, 317,779 people had voted for Public Service Commission. 37.9% of those have a recent Republican Party primary vote history. 48.1% have a recent Democratic primary vote history. We've been talking about the enthusiasm gap between Republicans and Democrats. It's on display in the early voter turnout. This is the race to either reelect or get rid of, according to Tim Echols. I say that because Tim Echols made a comment of, if you're unhappy with me, now is the time for you to get rid of me, but why would you? Because I've been doing such a great job. However, the Democrats are running an ad saying, just they leave out the "why would you" part. If you're unhappy with me, now is your time to get rid of me.
Well,
and they're running ads for that.
Yeah, that's not what you say in an election campaign. You say,
Tim, buddy,
it's a seasoned politician here. Come on, man.
Stick to your freaking talking points. Now, what are you doing, man? I mean, you're creating the campaign for your opponents. Like, what are you doing? Anyway.
Oh, man.
Turnout's not favoring the Republicans right now.
No.
If you had to guess, what are we looking at come Tuesday?
Well, I think what we've seen in recent past, a lot of Republicans they don't like early voting. They don't like absentee voting. So they're not doing those things. They're waiting till Election Day. So I hope that what happens is enough Republicans show up to eke out a victory for these two guys, because I do think they deserve reelection, despite what the Democrats are saying here. Power rates, the cost of electricity and power in Georgia is pretty cheap. It's pretty cheap. So I think they deserve reelection. But man, it's a big hole. We've dug ourselves a big hole here. I'm hopeful, but wow, need a big push to get folks to the polls here.
Well, the enthusiasm gap, really raised my eyebrow when over the weekend I was made aware that Josh McCoon, the current chairman of the Georgia Republican Party, decided to take to Facebook and make a really snide comment to James Hall, who is an elected member of the Chatham County Election Board down there. James is, again, a Republican. Now, if you have recognized that name, he's also a Patreon to the podcast, and he was my co-plaintiff in the lawsuit that we filed last year against the state when the state election board decided to go crazy.
Yes.
And we reeled them in, and we reestablished some really conservative principles like separation of powers. It was awesome. But James was interacting with somebody on Facebook, and he made a comment. Josh McCoon comes along and says, I wish we still lived in a time when an elected Republican would pick up the phone and call before deciding to join forces with the Democrats to undo good election integrity measures. Now, there's so much to unpack with Josh's statement, and I'll unpack that in a second, so stay tuned. But the first thing is, I just read you the numbers. The Republicans are not voting in the numbers that they need. Buzz has presented a plausible explanation for why Republicans haven't yet turned out to the polls, and maybe they will. But this was on a Saturday, pretty much all afternoon, because I engaged with Josh McCoon because of the wildly inaccurate and mischaracterized statement he made about the lawsuit. He spent his day arguing with me on Facebook. He should have been out there trying to get people to turn out to vote. But this is the problem. Josh McCoon, I guarantee you, I just know this in my heart of hearts, that if Senator McCoon was still in the Georgia State Senate and we filed that lawsuit, he would have been one of the sitting members of the legislature to sign on to the amicus brief supporting our case.
Yep.
Buzz has made that comment here. I believe it. I believe he would have, because Josh was a constitutionalist at one time. And that was what the lawsuit was about. But secondly, we didn't sue the party. We sued the state because a regulatory body had seized power that was not delegated to them. They seized it for themselves.
Yeah. It
could not go unchecked. And conservatives everywhere have been fighting against that very same concept since the 80s. For you Gen Z listeners, that was last century. It seems like yesterday to Buzz and I, but it was just the other day to us.
Yes.
But it's been a long time. It's 40 years we've been fighting against this idea that regulatory agencies shouldn't have deference when they're writing their own rules, that they shouldn't be able to seize power, that only elected people should make the law.
And a humongous Supreme Court victory, just last year, right?
Right. The Loper-Bright decision tossed out. Exactly. And
so-called Chevron deference.
Our case against the state, not Josh McCoon and not the party, was to do this thing, the Loper-Bright decision, that we are the Georgia version of the Loper-Bright decision, which conservatives across this country celebrated when that happened.
Yep.
But Josh is saying that we somehow joined up with the Democrats. And I pushed him on that. I was like, we didn't coordinate with anybody. We filed our own lawsuit. There were people who came along after we filed it. There were other lawsuits that the Democrats were involved in. And we looked at those and we realized that's not the winning argument. The winning argument is getting rid of DOTB Atlanta, which is the Georgia version of Chevron deference, which is, if we win, we will have the Loper-Bright decision for Georgia. Conservatives should have been lining up to join us. And the second thing is the comment that to undo good election integrity measures, the Supreme Court didn't agree with you that they were good measures. They struck them down.
Really, Scott, it was at any time, any legislator can introduce those measures as a bill.
Exactly.
And have debate and try to convince enough constitutional majorities in both chambers to pass them into law.
Right. If you had done it the right way, the constitutional way, the legal way, there wouldn't have been a lawsuit. Because the reason we were able to sue successfully was because you didn't do it the right way. Pass a bill.
Well, it's a whole lot easier to stack the deck on a 5-person commission and get 3 people to do something than it is to introduce a bill, get 91 in the House and 29 in the Senate, and a governor to pass it. So that's,
But when you have the majorities and you own the governor's mansion, that path isn't exactly all that difficult, but you have to talk to people. You have to have a relationship with people. And there's a reason why when the party developed their election integrity agenda that it didn't pass right away. You know why? Because they didn't talk to anybody.
Right.
If there's anybody in the world that should be able to pick up the phone and convene a gathering of Republican lawmakers, it would be Josh McCoon in his role as chairman. But he didn't do that. And he's not respected by a lot of members because he didn't do that. And it's a pattern of behavior where they're like, well, this guy, he's blindsided us. He created this agenda and I didn't have any input on that. I've heard that exactly type of feedback coming from sitting Republican lawmakers today.
Yeah.
So Josh is very upset also about something that was written about him and his wife during his reelection campaign to become chairman for a second term of the Republican Party. And this is what I want to address that. Buzz, have I ever told you you're not allowed to write or post something on Peach Pundit that I disagree with?
No.
To your knowledge, have I ever told anybody you're not allowed to write something?
Not to my knowledge.
What are
Because I
the
know
rules?
there are things that are posted on there that you don't agree with.
What are the rules for my contributors at Peach Pundit to post?
Get your facts straight and have your receipts and be accurate.
Also, do not defame.
Yes.
Do not libel.
Right.
Those are the rules. Now, this has created some tension over the years. I have one very, very pro-choice contributor. She posts from time to time, mostly about Atlanta city politics.
Sure.
If you've read Peach Pundit, you know who I'm talking about. We do not agree on the abortion issue at all. And as a matter of fact, she has posted very pro-choice posts on a platform that I own and publish. And I have not censored. I have not censored her.
Yeah.
Or her opinions.
Or censured her. So.
What I have done is I have posted my own thoughts on the issue. Everybody here at Peach Pundit has the right of conscience. It's actually, if you click on our About page, it's been there since the moment I took over Peach Pundit. The right of conscience, which means that we are going to disagree on things.
Yep.
If you want to hold me accountable for something that Jason Shepard wrote, Josh, you're allowed. You wouldn't be right to do it. And I guess in a way, I own the site. So if you really want to be mad at me, be mad at me. I don't care. But it has nothing to do with the fact that on a Saturday, you decided to go and argue with James Hall, or try to argue, because James didn't take the bait. You were trying to bait him into some sort of public comment. And then you got upset because I stepped in and called you out for it. You have a job to do as chairman. You are telegraphing certain behavior. It's obvious to me that you're upset that we beat you in court. That it would have been easier for you if nobody would have stepped in your way and said that the Constitution needs to be followed. It would have been easier for you to placate all the crazies and loony bins who are telling you election integrity is the most important issue, when we have people in Georgia right now who are struggling to find jobs, or they're having to make a decision right now on how they're going to feed their kids. Those are the issues that are most important to them. And you're trying to argue with a locally elected official because you're upset that he didn't call you to get your opinion or feedback on something that didn't involve you. We didn't have any intention of the Republican Party getting involved in our lawsuit. We were suing the state of Georgia, and we won. And at the end of the day, the court actually ruled you didn't even have standing to be there. They threw you out of the case completely because you didn't belong there. But if we end up losing this Public Service Commission race, or these two races on Tuesday, I will look at all of the opportunity cost of lost time and lost focus, because these folks they had to go to the Republican National Committee because somebody challenged whether or not the convention at the state was run appropriately earlier this year. And the Republican National Convention had to spend resources and time and energy adjudicating that, it was run fine. But you're spending all that time and energy, and we have to rely on other groups like TPUSA to be our door knockers, our Americans for Prosperity being door knockers, for Brian Kemp's organization to be door knockers.
Yeah.
When you are spending your Saturday, you're not even watching college football, like every good Southerner should be on Saturday.
Yeah.
You're arguing on Facebook. Get your stuff together. That's all I have to say. Buzz, I'll let you.
Well, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. But I will say this. Back to the Public Service Commission. I've received a couple mailers from it's hard to see, from a group called PSC Matters GA. There's no mention of candidates, Republican or Democrat. And you go to their website, and there's no mention of candidates. It appears to be just some nonpartisan group urging people to go vote because they're concerned about low turnout. So I've gotten 2 pieces of mail from that group. I got a piece of mail from my state representative, Sandy Donitucci, endorsing the Eccles and Fitz Johnson, the other Republican in the race, and urging people to go vote for them. I understand those, some of those mailers, other state representatives have sent out those kind of mailers as well around the state. But and I think maybe I've got a text or 2 from Fitz Johnson's campaign. I haven't heard anything from Tim Eccles. I'm befuddled, Scott. Where's the coordinator? We've known for a long time. It's not my job. It's not your job to get those 2 guys elected. I'm kind of befuddled.
It's Josh McCoon's job.
It's kind of befuddled at the lack of coordination, and to get these guys across the finish line. And as I mentioned before, we're in a deep hole. I hope it's not too late. I hope we can pull it out. I hope Republicans show up on Election Day. I guess early voting. We're recording this Wednesday.
Yep.
Early voting ends Friday, right? There's no early voting. So you got until Friday, October 31st, or
go vote on Election Day.
On Election Day,
go to my voter page, mvp.sos.ga.gov to learn where you have to go.
And what do we have? Less than 300,000 votes cast.
Let's shy of 400,000.
Okay,
today,
up to 400,000.
I'm sure it'll get over 400,000 as of today. I didn't have the data from today when we started recording because the polls had basically just closed.
Yeah, the polls are. Yep.
So I'll get that data later tonight. But also happening on Election Day Tuesday are municipal elections, including the biggest one in our state, the city of Atlanta. Mayor Andre Dickens is up for re-election. Yeah. And I have it on really good authority that he's doomed. I was told that a year and a half ago. There's no way that guy is going to win re-election because of his Cop City support.
Yeah, no, I agree. People that I know who live in the city of Atlanta, a year ago were telling me it's done. He's done. And they didn't think anybody on the city council would survive. That the whole thing's coming down, and that does not appear to be the case.
Right. I don't have any polling data for the mayor's race, but I will point out a couple of data points that are worthy of your attention. The mayor did draw 2 opponents. So there are 3 people in that race. So there is a potential for a runoff if he doesn't get the 50% plus 1. But neither of his opponents are spending any money. Andre Dickens, according to the Associated Press, is spending $350,000 on ads, according to Ad Impact, a firm that tracks advertising. He was the only candidate on air as of the week before Election Day.
Yeah.
It doesn't bode well if you're one of the other 2 people running against Mayor Dickens.
One of them's a Republican, so bless their heart. Helmut Love Damalski.
Wow. So, I missed the part that we had a Republican in that race.
Yeah. Kamala Jackson, a former police officer, and progressive Eddie Meredith are also on the ballot.
When was the last time an incumbent mayor lost their first reelect?
Ooh, like of Atlanta?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know of. I mean, you have to go back a long, long way. I guess my memory would take me back to the 70s when
you're in the right decade.
Maybe when Maynard Jackson toppled
the
incumbent.
Your Georgia history, your Atlanta history. Yeah. Maynard Jackson was the last Atlanta mayor to topple an incumbent mayor running for reelect.
Well, and I mean, that was a historic election because he became the first African American to become mayor of a large southern city. And
if you have the opportunity to fly Delta has a documentary. It was a Delta production
Yeah.
So you're not watching this somewhere else. You can only watch it when you're flying Delta.
But
if
if
you ever fly
Chick-fil-A can
Delta,
get in the production business, why not Delta? Right.
So Delta made a documentary about Maynard Jackson. It's actually fascinating.
Yeah.
Because it's a little bit unvarnished because he had family members talking about how he was conscious of his weight.
Mm-hmm. This is going up far down a rabbit hole here, but he had one of those great booming, strong voices that you just, he was one of those guys. I just loved hearing him talk. It was.
But getting back to the topic at hand, right? The Stop Cop City protests. There is this myopia. When you become myopic, you are unable to see the finish line,
right?
Because you're in it, and it feels like a crisis. And for a long time, we blogged about it. We had dueling points of view on the Cop City issue at Peach Pundit. Another great example of contributors writing on Peach Pundit that the owner and publisher didn't necessarily agree with. So we've had that back and forth, but there were a lot of people who in that moment were like, oh, this is it. It's over. His political career is done. And it just doesn't look like. If I was a betting person, and I'm not, if I were using the betting markets that Buzz likes to look at to try to predict things, I would bet that he's going to win without a runoff.
Oh yeah, I think so.
And that's based on the fact that nobody's spending any money. There's no organized effort to get him unelected.
Right.
And honestly, if you don't remember what Atlanta was like under Keisha Lance Bottoms, just go back and watch some old footage, because we're going to have lots of opportunity over the next year as Keisha Lance Bottoms seeks the Democratic nomination to become governor to talk about how bad she was, because it was bad.
The betting markets, Scott, give Andre Dickens a 97% chance of victory. So
there's a lesson in here also for electeds, right? Because something happens sometimes, a big news story, and the media comes looking for you, or a group of really impassioned people. Maybe they think, I don't know, maybe they think an election was stolen. And they're going to blame you, and they're going to hold you accountable for allowing for the election to be stolen. And those people might gather regularly, and they still might be very organized. They might even claim to have tens of thousands of people on their email list that they list as supporters. Maybe that's how they frame it. And they're going to try to put pressure on you to do things that may not actually be in the best interest of everybody here.
Yeah.
And they might not even be constitutional. They may not even be legal, but they'll want you to do it anyway. And it's really easy to get caught in that type of echo chamber and allow it to pervert your take on what is actually happening and how important that issue is to the average voter. The Stop Cop City myopia is equivalent to me to the stolen election myopia. It creates a fog of war. It's hard to see the finish line when you have a bunch of people yelling at you that this is the most important thing, but you got to get out and touch grass, as the kids say. You got to go talk to voters outside, that this is not their thing. And the vast majority of voters don't care about niche issues. They want to make sure they have access to economic opportunity, that the roads are paved, that the schools are good, that their kids are going to have a future. You got to take care of that stuff first.
Yeah.
This other stuff is not going to get you unelected. This isn't. And Stop Cop City isn't going to get Andre Dickens unelected.
Yep. Well, and back to our first topic, the far left is attempting to intimidate and put fear in the hearts of Democrat elected officials, and they're playing into that by keeping the government shut down well past what it should have been. Well, it should have never been shut down to begin with, but what do the normies think? That's the right. That's what you need to know, right? What do the normies think?
What do the people think who are coaching youth sports on a Saturday instead of showing up to a Republican Party breakfast thinking?
Yes.
You need to go talk to them.
Yep.
They're the ones who vote for you in larger numbers than the people who show up and have a chicken biscuit.
Yep.
This is reality. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. Switching topics, though, moving away from elections a little bit. You know, the death of Charlie Kirk has impacted me in ways that I didn't think it would. But there was a lot of emotional reaction on both sides of the political spectrum when that event occurred September last month. And a lot of people forgot their manners and
Yeah.
they took to Facebook to say some pretty awful things.
Mm-hmm.
One of those people who decided to take to Facebook was Michelle Mickens, a Oglethorpe County High School English teacher. And here is what she said. I don't condone violence of any kind, and I certainly don't condone this, but he was a horrible person, a fascist full of hate for anyone who was different. While I'm sad that we live in a country where gun violence is an epidemic, the world is a bit safer without him. She said some other things too. It doesn't get better.
Yeah.
She said that the world was safer without Charlie Kirk alive. That's what she said.
Yeah.
For that, she got fired. She's now suing, saying that her First Amendment rights were violated.
I don't like seeing people get fired for saying stuff most of the time. But if you're a teacher whose job it is to impart knowledge and wisdom to the next generation, I think you should be held to a bit of a higher standard. And while she has every right to say whatever she wants to say, her employer, in this case, the public school, has a right to say, we don't want you working here anymore. And we saw that across the country and in Georgia as well. In a number of cases, people said, hers by the standards of some of the stuff I saw that were flooding the flooding social media. That's pretty mild. All kinds of stuff said that was just hideous. It could make you lose a lot of faith in humanity, or lose a lot of faith in this country, to think that that this country could avoid a civil war with some of the stuff these people were saying, and some of them continue to say it. Just hideous. But you have the right to say whatever you want to say, but you don't have the right to avoid the consequences of those statements when it comes to your employer, because Georgia's a right to work state and employment at will, and they don't have to keep you on, but they can fire you. And so I think she's going to lose her lawsuit, and
I hope she does.
Yeah.
But I have a message for Michelle Mickens. You are a horrible person. You are a fascist full of hate for anyone who is different. And while I am sad that we live in a country where political violence is an epidemic, the world is safer without you in a classroom.
Yeah.
I do not wish you harm. And I wish you future success in whatever endeavor you want to engage in, so long as it's not poisoning the minds of our kids with that type of crap.
If I had a child that was in her class, I'd be marching down to the school saying, I don't want my child in that class, and I don't want her employed at my kid's school. I
don't want her to have the opportunity to influence my child in any way whatsoever.
No.
Ever. You are a school teacher. You cannot be making public comments where you say that you think it's a good thing that somebody was politically assassinated. It's irresponsible. You were irresponsible. You're paying the consequences. You are free to say whatever you want because the government's not arresting you for it. It doesn't mean that you get to stay employed. That's not the guarantee. The guarantee is that you're not arrested and thrown in jail or prohibited from saying it completely. It's still out there. You were given the opportunity to remove it, and you didn't. It's on you. It's called taking responsibility, and it's a good lesson for your students to see play out firsthand. It's probably the most important thing that you've taught them.
Mm-hmm.
that if you say and do stupid things, you don't get a freebie. There are consequences to those things. Those kids learned a lesson from you, and it wasn't English. It was in civics. And our classrooms in Georgia are better without you in them.
Yes.
Go forth and prosper.
Has she offered an apology? Has she said, you know what, I
she
said
was offered
something
the opportunity to
moment.
apologize. She was offered the opportunity to remove it by the administration of her school, and she refused. She said, I'd like to go talk to an attorney first. And then the following week, she was put on leave and then fired.
Well, there's always going to be an attorney who will take her money. Say, oh, absolutely, we'll fight this case, sure.
Well, in this case, it's the Southern Poverty Law Center.
Oh, well, good.
It's representing her. So she may not have to pay.
How ironic. How ironic that they're so quick to label all sorts of people hate groups, but not somebody who celebrates the death of a political opponent. How interesting.
We'll let you marinate on that one and move on to the next topic, which is the special election to replace Mandi Ballinger has been called. If you live in the 23rd House District, obviously you are eligible to run if you've lived there for a year as of the time you get elected. Mandi Ballinger, as we discussed before, tragically passed away after losing her long battle with cancer, opening up the seat. The unexpired term will be filled by whoever wins this special election. It has been called for December 9th. Early voting starts on November 17th. This is a sprint, people. This is a sprint. I had very similar timing. My special election didn't occur until January 5th of the following year. These guys are under the gun. And I've already heard some candidates who are running. I'll share some names with you. Rajpal Sagoo told me today that they are looking at issuing press release either today or tomorrow announcing his candidacy. If you're not familiar, Raj was one of the candidates who ran to replace me. Bryce Futch also is told me that he's going to run. This is a guy who just ran for state senate in 21 to replace Beach, did not make the runoff. And we have other rumored candidates, a guy named Bill Fincher, who also ran to replace me after redistricting. He is now in the 23rd district, so he may run. There's a city councilman from Canton named Brian Roach who may run. He's also currently on the ballot for reelect for the Canton City Council. So if he decides to give that up, that would have to happen. There would be another special election to replace him on the city council. It's just constant set of special elections. Buzz, if you're out there and you're thinking, oh, you know what? Today is the 29th. The qualifying is for a couple days on the week of the 4th. Early voting starts on the 17th. Why not just take a flyer?
Sure. Sure.
It's a crapshoot, isn't it? I mean,
yeah. Especially if, you mentioned Mr. Futch, who, his name ID is probably a little higher now because he just ran.
Right.
Right. And others who might jump in that race.
Senate districts are much larger than House districts.
Yes.
And so there would be a lot of people that he campaigned to that wouldn't vote in this election.
Right. Yeah.
But that's what happened with me. I mean, I ran for state house. I challenged an incumbent legislator. I got beat. He resigned. I was next man up.
Yeah. So, I mean, what'll be interesting is, kind of like the Senate race, you had a very wealthy person in the eventual winner, Mr. Dickerson, right, who was able to put a lot of money in. That
race took forever compared to this sprint.
Yes. Right. So I think, sure, $400 and a whole lot of sweat equity might get you elected to the State House of Representatives.
Right. You need a good digital campaign, couple of mail pieces.
Knock on a ton of doors. Yep.
This is what one of the candidates called me today and tell me, hey, I'm running. Okay. They're like, hey, if I do this, how do you think they would attack me? And I was like, I wouldn't spend 2 seconds thinking about how they would attack you.
No.
You know how many people sent me to the State House in a special election in Cherokee County? 903.
Wow.
You got to go convince 903 people as quickly as you can to go vote in an election that they don't know about. You're not spending any time talking about another candidate. You're not attacking another candidate. The only thing you're doing is going to tell people there's an election and I need you to go vote for me. Please go.
Yeah.
And then once they tell you, you're tracking to make sure they actually go to the polls, because this is, if you vote in a special election at this time of year, you are the hardest core voters.
No doubt.
and so this is free advice to all of the campaigns, from somebody who has won a special election at Christmas time, having had to campaign through Thanksgiving.
Oh, man.
You don't spend any time talking about your opponents. Let's just go talk about you and tell people why they need to go vote.
Yep.
Because they're not going to know.
Right.
And 900 votes could send you to the state house. So good luck to y'all. I'm glad it's not me.
Well, we're going to have another one, Scott, because our friend Marcus Wiedower announced yesterday that he is stepping down, I guess effective immediately.
Yep.
And a special election will be called.
Marcus Wiedower is a state representative from the Athens area.
District 121.
121. It's a safe Republican seat.
Yes.
In a special election, Democrats in the past have won that seat.
Mm-hmm.
So there would need to be a candidate that can also swoop in, generate the buzz.
Yes. There was a Democrat already running who was going to challenge Wiedower. So, the assumption is that person will run for the special election.
Uh-huh.
No word on a date of that election. So, but I got to think, that because the session starts in January, I wouldn't be shocked if I wouldn't be shocked if they called it pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean mid-December. If a runoff is needed, the runoff could be concluded very early in the legislative session, and you could have somebody representing that district sworn in.
Yes,
probably week 2 or 3 of the legislature.
Yep.
But that's the timing it's required for this. The governor should move fast on that one to make sure somebody can represent that district.
Yep.
But who knows? I will say this about Marcus Wiedower. Marcus Wiedower is proof that there are good people in politics.
Yep.
That is a good dude.
Yeah, he is.
That is a guy who didn't go down there to make headlines. He didn't go down there to get attention. He showed up to do the work, and he treated everybody with respect.
Yep.
And I'm going to share an anecdote from another legislator who has a passion for playing drums. I won't name them, but they told us this story that they were at a conference with Marcus Wiedower in Nashville, music everywhere. And the legislator said, yeah, it'd be nice to play drums with those guys. And they ended up inviting that legislator up on stage to play a set of Lynyrd Skynyrd songs. And that legislator said it was one of the best times he's ever had. And he would only learn later that Marcus Wiedower had paid the band to give that guy the opportunity to play drums in Nashville.
That's awesome.
Marcus, brother, well done, my friend.
Yeah.
We're sad to see you go, but happy for you because we know your business has taken off.
Yeah.
And you're doing the right thing by your family. But we'll miss you, man.
Yep.
Miss you.
Indeed.
You got anything else you want to lay on us, Buzz?
No. I mean, hey, man, if you're a Georgia Tech fan like me, life's pretty good right now, right? No.
Kennesaw State's bowl eligible, baby.
I know. I stayed up to watch that game. That was a wild game, but they hung on and won. Good for them.
Hooty hoo! This is what happens when you stop running the triple option. Tell me it's not. Yeah. Tell me it's not. You guys are the best team in the ACC, and we're bowl eligible the year after we stop running the triple option.
I've got I have a screen capture that I am saving. I won't tip my hand here, but a prominent member of the media said that Georgia Tech would never be anything ever again. And a local Bulldog podcaster gave his full-throated support to that. I can't wait to pull that out at the appropriate time if things keep rolling, going well for Georgia Tech this year. I'm not predicting any, victory. The Georgia fans, they don't descend upon me, but Brent Key is proving that you can win and win the right way at Georgia Tech, and you can build a successful winner, and that's awesome. And I'm happy to see Kennesaw State doing well, and I hope Georgia State builds it up. And Georgia Southern's kind of on hard times at the moment, but they've had great success in the past. And man, let's have lots more success for Georgia college football teams. It's fun.
Hooty hoo. Peach Pundit, the podcast, is brought to you by our Patreons. We call them the people who rock. They voluntarily reach into their pocket every month and throw us as little as $5. There are other tiers. Every tier comes with different benefits, but starting at the $5 level, you get to join the Signal chat that is active every single day with somebody saying something funny. I laugh from something in there every day.
Indeed.
Also, to remind you, I'll take this opportunity to remind you to leave a comment wherever you listen. We have lots of entrants now. Next week, I'm probably going to have to draw a name out of the hat to award the next piece of merch. So get in while you can. And every comment you leave gives you an extra entrant into that little giveaway that we're doing. But thank you to the people who rock. If you want to join them, you can head over to patreon.com/peachpundit. Sign up for one of those tiers. They are Robert Lee, our friends at Lee 6 Media, Brett Harrell, and our friends at Conservatives Concerned, Bill Werkheiser, our anonymous contributor who wants you to learn more about the Alzheimer's Association, Tony West and our friends at Americans for Prosperity, John Vestal, Colin Martin, Ryan Burbis, Hank Burnham, Jeff Cobble, Shannon Ferguson, Jordan Reed, Sam Thomas, Lawton Sack, Eric Johnson, Kenyatta Mitchell, Sergio Ortega, Amy Davis, Greer Howard, Reed Powell, Ryan Graham, Bo Brennan, Mike Buchert, Stuart Wilkinson, James Hall, Justin Wright, Bethany Ballard, Ken Pullen, and we have 2 other anonymous Patreons. If you don't want your name mentioned, we won't mention it, but we really appreciate everybody being a Patreon to the podcast. Thank you again. Head on over to patreon.com/peachpundit. Thank you for listening. For Peach Pundit, I'm Scott Turner. That's Buzz Brockway. We will catch you next time.
Go Jackets.